Meep, meep.
Hey, buddy, watch this.
Hey, folks. Yeah, as it turns out, not all cards from Galakron's Awakening have been amazing so far. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 best and the 5 worst according to the data and just a little bit of my insights adding in there as well. That said, before we jump into this list, I do want to thank our sponsor for this video. It's Shadowverse. If you don't know Shadowverse, it's one of the most popular card games among the Regis Kilbin community. It is free to play on mobile and PC. You get 50 free card packs just for completing the tutorial, and all players unlock 239 legendary cards for free for a limited time. That said, there is a link to check out Shadowverse in the description below. Checking it out will certainly help me, and I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, so let's go from Shadowverse to Shadow Sculptor here. This is one of our 5 worst Galakron's Awakening cards, and these are in no particular order, but Shadow Sculptor for Rogue doesn't have good numbers when it comes to the stats, even in something like a Malygos Rogue deck, where you really want to draw a lot of cards to satisfy a combo condition. Shadow Sculptor isn't quite good enough. The stats look pretty miserable. So I think the problem for Shadow Sculptor is really just how low tempo he is as a 5-mana card. Like, yes, he can be efficient, you know, drawing you 4, 5, 6 cards or something that's more efficient than other plays, but it's still not doing enough on board. 5 mana is a big commitment in any given turn, so it may be hard to do anything with the cards you draw. So you're basically stuck with cards you already have that you had to play in order to get new things that you can't really play. So it rarely ever actually changes your lines or possible options in a given turn, really limiting the immediate impact of a card like Shadow Sculptor. Next up here is Skydiving Instructor. And we all saw me famously fail with this card, I think, in a video not too long ago, because even though I believe I can fly, turns out Skydiving Instructor is doomed for the ground, much like Wile E. Coyote there in our intro. Summoning a 1-cost minion from your deck just isn't worth it in most cases. You'd rather have cards that just summon you more stuff. People tried this in Zoo. We certainly tried this with Discount Shenanigans, Luna's Pocket Galaxy style stuff. But in either case, is this making any sense? The numbers have really plummeted since the beginning of the expansion when people were trying to give this thing a shot to summon you some Flame Imps and stuff in Zoo. There are better 3-drops, there are better synergies. Making room for this in your deck just doesn't make sense. So Skydiving Instructor has indeed fallen out of the sky. Okay, I promise no puns for this card. The last one I probably went a little overboard. This one's Twisted Knowledge, and I have to say, this is the one card probably in this entire video that I disagree with the most. But when you look at the data right now, Twisted Knowledge does not have a very good deck win rate or played win rate. There's nothing that's able to make this card succeed right now. I thought maybe its played win rate would be higher in some halfway decent handlock lists, but it's just not getting there. Now, I will say my personal experiences differ greatly. I've had some great success with Twisted Knowledge at finding some kind of specific thing that I need, hitting that Twisting Nether, hitting that threat on board. Because you get 2 different sets of Discovers, you can often satisfy a removal, a proactive play, single target, AoE, whatever it is you need. Twisted Knowledge usually finds something that's sort of in that vein. It rarely ever whiffs. Plus, it can just increase the size of your hand for things like a handlock deck that's trying to cheat out minions. So I don't really know if I have an explanation for why Twisted Knowledge isn't working. Maybe I've just been high rolling, getting some good variants. Maybe there's a lot less consistency than I realized, as there are indeed some bad Warlock cards out there. So the data says this one's bad. I'm still pretty hopeful that this could be a great card. Moving on here to Animated Avalanche, that big old mage boy. The challenge for this guy is that elementals right now as a synergy just don't really make a lot of sense, particularly for this card, which is much more of that like mid to late game stats on board kind of play, which, you know, in the old Spiteful Summoner era kind of made sense. Today, it just doesn't get there, particularly when it's limited by this kind of condition. Like, yes, when it goes off, that's awesome. Yes, if you can, use a Khadgar to summon more, that's awesome. If you can cheat this out with Elemental Evocation, you can do some cool stuff. But you'll note each time I said that there's some condition that has to be satisfied in order to make this card good. And when you add that many conditions onto something, it's just really hard for it to thrive. And next up here for our last of the worst cards, we've got Chaosgazer, another Warlock card bottoming out for Galakron's Awakening. Another one actually seemed to like pretty well. I think we've had some success with this one, disrupting our opponent's lines here and there, but the data suggests it's really not working all that well. I thought this might be a card that was like good, but it had low visibility, so nobody realized it was good. It's kind of hard to tell how much you're disrupting and forcing your opponents to make suboptimal lines. So I thought, oh, maybe this will be great, and the stats will kind of bolster this card more so than community opinion. It turns out it's sort of gone the other way around. People were more hopeful, but the stats are suggesting there really isn't all that much happening from Chaosgazer. I think it just turns out, right? Like, it's a playable card, so a lot of the times they kind of play it. Sometimes you can create friction or use this with another disruption card like, Boom Pistol Bully and make some plays, but often they just play it and they were happy to play it anyway. So Chaosgazer, because of that condition, I think it really has limited the impact of this one. That said, let's jump over to the 5 best Galakron's Awakening cards. And again, in no particular order, starting off here with Winged Guardian for Druid. I think we all know just how much this guy has been played in Embiggen Druid. I'll be honest, if I look at just the stats today, Winged Guardian has lost a little bit of momentum. Its drawn and played win rate isn't that high. It's mostly succeeding because of the side quest strength and numbers. So I considered bumping this off the list and pushing the amazing Reno onto the list. If I was going strictly by the data, that's the decision I would have made. But I think Winged Guardian, especially early in the Galakron's Awakening release, was just so dominant. It is still very, very popular that this card kind of just has to be included, because I think it's been the face of Galakron's Awakening in a lot of ways so far. And then next up here, we have Bom Wrangler, the little warrior minion that could hear summoning so many boom bots in Galakron warrior lists right now, which is a very successful and popular archetype, moving this card up to the top 5 here for played cards in Galakron's Awakening. And it turns out this is just a perfect fit for any deck that runs, whirlwind style effects, which is exactly what Warrior thrives at. Also just a really high pressure minion that can create tons of early tempo or just lots of face damage by sending those boom bots to the face. So it's a perfect combination. That's exactly what a more aggressive Galakron warrior list needs. Moving on to Escaped Mana Sabre. This card has probably been my most shocking card of the entire set. I thought Escape Mana Sabre was an okay card. I think I gave it decent reviews before the expansion, but I thought it would be used as more of this combo activator that did very specific kinds of things, opening up lines of play that might otherwise be really difficult for classes that don't have access to things like Innervate, for instance. But it turns out Escape Mana Sabre has served as just this generally useful Highlander card that a variety of different Highlander decks are running successfully, most notably I'd say in Highlander Mage. And that's in particular because this, as a 4-mana card, if you can play this on 4, then you move into your 5-mana turn, you attack with your Mana Sabre, that pushes you to 6 mana. You have really powerful plays like Dragon Caster and your Reno the Relicologist that move you along quite nicely. It doesn't have quite as many good breakpoints in something like Highlander Hunter, but can still be good if you cheat up to a Bran a turn sooner. If you just keep this in stealth and attack into your turn 7, for instance, or your turn 6 to summon a 7-mana Bran. This card just offers those opportunities to cheat out really good Highlander style cards a little bit sooner at both, the immediate 4-mana spot and just anytime late in the game too. Maybe go from 8 to 9 for Alexstrasza, for instance, and make some big plays. So yeah, Escape Mana Sabre, decent stat line and stealth with this really powerful upside. It turns out a fantastically flexible combination. After that, we've got rottnest Drake here for Hunter, and obviously, I think we all saw this one coming. It's a deadly shot with a 6/5 attached for only 2 additional mana. Deadly shot was already a pretty reasonable card, and when you add in all the very powerful dragon synergy stuff that Hunter can unlock, rottnest Drake just ties all of these worlds together perfectly, serving as both a nice card in Dragon Highlander Hunter, but also as the kind of top end, really powerful swing card in more aggressive Dragon Hunter lists as well, enabling things like Stormhammer to be even better too. So all in all, I mean, just an insane tempo swing card in the mid game. It's made so many powerful plays against me and vice versa. It's pretty much exactly what Hunter needed to succeed, and that's why Hunter is so dominant and popular right now in Hearthstone. And then finally here, we've got the Frenzied Fellwing, another card I think most people spotted as a really powerful option in Galakron's Awakening, and currently serves as the most popular card in standard constructed Hearthstone from the set so far, and that's because this is just a great aggressive tool. It's actually best right now in Dragon Hunter, much like our other friend the rottnest straight, because Hunter can push out so much early damage. They're often cheating this thing for, if not 2 mana because of the hero power, then often 0 mana because they've, done something else, attacked on board, and they just create all kinds of early tempo. They still have powerful mid-game tools, so Frenzied Fellwing is just the great opening pressure piece that is often the backbreaker for a lot of decks that just can't handle all those stats that early, and I think he'll remain that way for a while. This one just makes a lot of sense for fast start style decks. So Frenzied Fellwing, sure enough, is probably currently the best Galakron's Awakening card across the board, the most popular, very, very strong, and really no surprise there. That said, that wraps it up for this video. I'm curious which cards were surprises for you on this list. Which ones would you have included that that didn't make the cut? Is there something that's really a standout for you? There were certainly a few good cards that weren't quite there, and a few cards I thought were bad, but the data was still kind of undecided on. So this list could have changed a lot with just a few different takes or reads on certain sorts of things. So of course I want to hear your take on all that. In the meantime, of course, thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll check out our sponsor Shadowverse for this video in the description below. And until next time, game on.
Dragons take flight above the ice and snow.